So today we are focusing on an introduction and orientation to this project as a tool and a resource for really being able to recognize students that are in distress and figure out how to approach those students and support them. So the statistics that are here on this slide are not new to any of you here. I know you are on the front lines of this work and you are seeing it directly. But just to highlight a few important areas, we know that over the last decade, the prevalence of feelings of sadness and hopelessness and thoughts of suicide have been increasing among our teens. And as you know, the pandemic has only exacerbated these challenges, increasing, depression and anxiety, irritability, and other challenges. And in particular, in the last year, we have seen that suicide attempts in the ED visits were 51% higher for teen girls and 4% higher for teen boys than in the previous year. So I think, I say these statistics because I think this is a driving force for probably why many of you are here today, and a driving force for this project to really be able to make change and identify kids early who need help. We know there are a number of challenges that get in the way of being able to support these youth. Stigma is a huge one, right? Also the fact that a lot of those externalizing behaviors or bigger behaviors tend to be noticed more easily than some of those internalizing challenges, like when we see kids who have depression or anxiety. So really learning how to identify those kids that are kind of quieter and fly under the radar. We also know that even though this topic is really important to a lot of educators and school staff, we don't usually get training in that kind of thing, right? And so people are often not quite sure how to identify kids, or if they do know that they're there, how to connect them with the care that they need. And then lastly, we have, as you all know, a huge shortage of mental health providers in our community and also nationally. And so taking on a project like this is an important way for us to help to bridge that gap between the amount of need that we have for direct services, but also being able to increase our own capacity within our community to support these youth earlier on. And so again here, really being able to recognize those youth, to help monitor symptoms, assess for safety concerns, and be able to identify local resources and strategies is a huge need. And that is the focus of what we're hoping to address with this project. All of the tools and resources of this project are within 4 different components. So as you know, we have this Project ECHO, which I'll talk more about in a minute. We have development of training youth mental health first aid instructors within each of your schools. We also have the opportunity for direct referrals to some of our short mention services, and then a whole wealth of resources and tools that are kept up to date in terms of local resources, community support, and other tools. And the place where you will find all of these things as you work with us and you will have access to beyond this 5-month cycle is our website. So if you go to www.ursos.org, which I'll open in a moment, that will houses all of the information related to these various pieces of the project. It will have the recordings of all of our ECHO didactics and slides and resources. Like I mentioned, any up-to-date community supports for teens and families, and then links for being able to refer to those short-term intervention services. I am going to stop sharing my screen here so that I can quickly show you the website which will shortly become your best friend. I recommend hearting it or favoriting it so you can go back to it. And great, it looks like people are putting it into the chat. Thank you, Melissa or Corey. Okay, excuse me. So this is the URSOS project website, which Melissa and her wife very kindly created for us. It's very professional and we're proud of it and grateful for it. You will see here overall information about the project on this homepage. And then in each of these links, there's more information about the specific arms of this project. So as you know, we have our Project ECHO, which really focuses on disseminating knowledge from experts and across our community, so between you all. And if you want to explore, this is where you will find the case presentation. So each school district will be assigned a date to present on a case, and we will help support you through that process, but download the case presentation form. You can also check out the curriculum for our ECHO. And if you click on each of these, you can read a little bit more about what that month will entail in terms of each didactic. So starting with recognizing and approaching youth, being culturally responsive, using anti-racist and equitable solutions and strategies for school mental health, supporting more typical behavioral health concerns that come up, treatment for teens with more serious mental health concerns, and then lastly, really thinking about risk assessment and safety planning within the school context. So that's our upcoming curriculum, as you're already aware, but you can feel free to check back there. And then our Youth Mental Health First Aid Hub has more information about what YMHFA is, as well as some of the expectations around for the trainer specifically, so including when that date will happen. So you can feel free to explore more there. For those of you who aren't as aware with Youth Mental Health First Aid, in a sentence or two, the focus here is really on training the general public. So any adult that works with youth, whether that's a teacher, a bus driver, paraprofessional, a parent, coach, etc., in the basic skills for how to identify, approach, support, and refer youth with mental health challenges using a really concrete five-step cycle to do that. And so one person from each of your teams will be trained in this model and be able to then share those trainings and do trainings within your school and within your community. The next tab over is our resource hub. This is a really excellent series of resources for families, for school mental health practitioners, educators, and then also a conglomeration of all of our ECHO trainings and handouts. So just to show you for a moment, if you click here, you'll see there are different webinars for families. There are up-to-date resource links for the community resources, both related to mental health, but also related to financial support and otherwise. If you go back to our page, you can also take a look and see that there are great resource lists for those school mental health providers, private practice options, evaluation options, etc., different forms that could be used, such as a risk assessment form or an emergency mental health referral form that we recommend looking into. And then on the last page here, the last thing I'll highlight before we move into our case presentation for today is that we, as part of this program, you have access to a streamlined referral process for two of our short-term intervention services. So these two programs are the READY program and the short-term assessment and response team. I'm going to just briefly describe each of these, but we will be asking for each school team to identify one person within your ECHO school team to become a referral triage person. And we will do a little extra short training with that person to make sure that they really understand what are appropriate referrals for these two types of services. And we'll just ask that whenever a referral is being put in, that they touch base with that triage person to make sure it's an appropriate referral. So just to describe briefly, the READY program is our short-term outpatient therapy program that offers up to 12 sessions of really targeted treatment, targeted therapy. It focuses on, really identifiable stressors, specific current concerns, and helps families to work through, maybe it's basic coping skills or psychoeducation, connection to, other supports in the community. This is not as appropriate for kids who have really complex behavioral health needs, kind of long-term ongoing needs, or significant immediate safety concerns. Those would be more appropriate for our more flexible care in outpatient. And then for our short-term assessment and response team, this was formerly our crisis intervention service. So this is for youth who have experienced a crisis, have more immediate challenges, and need access to services quickly. So it's 1 to 6 sessions that focuses on things like kind of destabilization, specific coping skills, and safety planning to prevent further crises, and then really working to think about what other supports and next steps they need. This one, just to mention, is not as good for kids who need same day evaluations or have immediate safety concerns. It's not a 24/7 kind of service, but it is, we do get people in within about 9 days or so on average. So those are those 2 short-term referral streams. In order to make the referral, it goes right here, and we'll train that person within each of your team to put those referrals in.